Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you're all doing well. To start things off, Coinbase has officially launched its new set of trading signals, including insight on which coins are the most popular and which crypto assets are held the longest. Economist and analyst Alex Kruger compiled a list of data revealing that the biggest crypto asset by market caps aren't necessarily the most popular coins on the platform, as you might expect. Bitcoin is the most popular cryptocurrency, obviously, followed by Ethereum. Next up is Litecoin, followed by Bcash, XRP, Lumens, and 0x. As for which coins traders are holding on to the longest, Bitcoin is actually number 5 on the list. The longest held cryptos are Litecoin, 0x, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, and Bitcoin. Here's the actual post right here. It says the ladder needs adjusting for the median holding time for cryptocurrencies. The ladder needs adjusting by the fact that Coinbase listed most of the coins less than a year ago and at different dates. Here's a rough, imperfect, adjusted estimate for the coins being held the longest. Bitcoin is 85 days, Ether is 101 days, Litecoin is 119, Bcash is 77, and XRP is only usually held for 33 days, while Lumens is usually held for around 19 days. That's kind of completely insane. EOS is held for 6, and Link, there's a Link coin? Link is held for 9, DAI is held for 1, and USDC is held for 4. Well, DAI is also a stable coin, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of interesting. This is not the list that I was expecting to see when I found this information. I was definitely expecting a bit more of a mix-up, especially with the longest held ones. Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and then Bitcoin kind of being held the least amount of days. And as far as the most popular coins, Bitcoin I can see, obviously. Ether, I guess, is still... it's probably going to remain popular for a long amount of time, unless the people from Ethereum don't give the specified updates that they've been talking about doing over the last couple of years by next January. I think Ethereum will start to slip down, but the fact that Litecoin is number 3 is quite interesting. We don't hear about Litecoin as much, or when we do, it's about the funding of the Litecoin Foundation. It's about new things that they have coming out. They're never really in the news as many other coins, so the fact that they've remained number 3 is quite fascinating, and the fact that Bcash is also there is what it is. And then Stellar and especially 0x. When was the last time you heard any major news from 0x? Quite interesting. And here's the actual thing right here. The first is called Top Holder Priority, which is a trio of trading signals that they've released, which analyze the biggest holders of a given crypto asset on the site, revealing how many users in the group have bought or sold their positions in the last 24 hours. So here's exactly what it looks like. Quite fascinating. I think a lot of things like this are kind of they don't shake up the cryptocurrency space, but it's more like we get very interesting information that we kind of didn't think was how it would be. Like, to be honest, one would assume that if the third largest coin is XRP, that XRP would kind of be in 3rd place and not in 5th. And also even over here, that is usually sold after 33 days as opposed to 85 for Bitcoin. Quite fascinating. And yeah, let's move on. This, I think, might be the most interesting news that we've had in a while, simply because it's typically a topic of discussion. I think a lot of people are discussing this actually going on right now. A lot of people don't think this is happening, but if you do pay a bit more attention, it's clearly obvious that within the world of finance, and not just within the world in general, we're seeing a major power shift happening. The golden age of the US dollar may be coming to a close, suggests a new report published by the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, or the FDD. The world's reserve currency has a new competitor that looks extremely attractive to Iran, China, Venezuela, and Russia, and they are digital currencies. FDD researchers hypothesize that US adversaries, a very strong word, will use digital currencies to undermine the economic and political might of the United States and the US dollar, they said, and I do quote, the primacy of the dollar has enabled US policymakers to deploy tools of financial coercion and economic sanctions to promote U.S. National Secretary interests without relying solely on diplomacy and military action. For decades, U.S. adversaries have been trying to evade and undermine this power, but there has been no way to conduct significant international commerce without moving through the pipes of the United States-led global financial system. Now, however, new pipelines are being built. The U.S.'s position of influence is not necessarily permanent. Technology has created a potential pathway to alternative financial value transfer systems outside of the U.S.'s control. The target timeline may be 2 to 3 decades, but those actors are developing the building blocks right now. They envision a world in which cryptocurrency technology helps them eclipse U.S. financial power, much the way the dollar once eclipsed the British pound at the moment. Blockchain platforms are experimental and small in scale compared to the conventional financial systems, but they are evolving quickly. Blockchain technology may be the innovation that enables U.S. adversaries for the first time to operate entire economies outside the U.S.-led financial system. These governments, therefore, are prioritizing blockchain technology as a key component of their effort to counter U.S. financial power. Russia, Iran, and Venezuela have initiated blockchain technology experiments that their leaders paint as tools to offset U.S. financial coercive power and increase sanction resistance. China is also wary of the U.S. financial power and the ever-present threat of sanctions against Chinese officials. The efforts of these 4 nations go beyond mere sanction evasions, typically characterized by sanctions and entities hiding or disguising businesses and financial operations in order to continue operating within the global financial system. It actually goes on. Oh, no, it doesn't. I thought it continued on. I was like, I'm not reading all of that. This is incredibly interesting. Depending on where you look, or rather, I think a lot of people understand that this is happening, but I think that they tell themselves that it's not really taking place. I've even seen people in the comment section. I will never know. I don't know if these people are new to the channel, if they found my channel and don't like what I'm saying, or simply because they think that a lot of what's happening right now, or what a lot of people are saying, is complete hogwash. You have to understand that the US's power over the world has caused a strain on not only international relations, but also on economic policies. When you have a country, one country, I think it's anywhere between 185 to 192 countries or something like that are on the planet right now, depending on how you gauge the numbers. And all of them fall under the sanctions or the power of one country. Eventually, that's cool. It may be awesome, amazing, cool. Yeah, we have a new best friend. But at some point, you're going to be like, okay, we want our own economic sovereignty. We want to kind of deal with things on our own. And to fall under the guise and the gaze and the power of just one system it kind of gets a bit insane. So when we were talking about this, I think the first mentions of this came around 2 years ago when we were talking about the US dollar potentially losing a large amount of its power. And it came down to the fact that we started hearing rumors of other countries potentially being able to use Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a way to evade U.S. sanctions and also to get away from the U.S. economy. And then in 2018, we had information that I believe it was Venezuela and Russia, or rather, Venezuela created their own cryptocurrency. Russia was talking about creating their own cryptocurrency. And then we had a situation where I believe it was Russia, Venezuela, and Iran who were apparently in talks to create a cryptocurrency-like system between themselves where they could transfer value back and forth, what have you, so on and so forth. We also had news in 2018 that the government of China, or rather that within China, they had I don't want to use the word monopoly. They were holding on to a large amount of the hash power for the Bitcoin network. And the idea is that China didn't want to let that go, and therefore they would try to figure out a way to be able to maintain their hold on the Bitcoin miners within their country, and maybe also get a cut on the side. No one knows the exact extent of that, but these are typically the 4 countries that we hear about when it comes to evading U.S. sanctions or trying to get around it. It's fairly certain right now that something is being built, something is coming of this. I think a lot of the news that we had before, especially from Venezuela, we barely ever hear about their cryptocurrency anymore. In my opinion, it's fairly obvious. If you don't think so, have a good day. I don't know what to tell you. That other countries around the world are desperately they've been trying to do this for years. They've been trying to figure out a way to get around U.S. sanctions, and the fact that there are systems, and there is a system within Bitcoin, the blockchain, to be able to buy up Bitcoin and transact that value back and forth between themselves. It's incredibly significant because it gives a very easy way for countries to kind of have control over their own selves. Once again, I mean, depending on, not all countries are nice, not all countries are friendly, not all countries are going to do what they desire to do, but It's very clear right now, even from the fact that the people from Facebook announced that they were creating, or rather they have a white paper talking about them creating something, and the United States freaked. If a country freaks out because a company says we're going to do something, it's clearly something shaky and wrong with your current currency that you have right now. And the fact that we are seeing a major pushback from not only other countries who are actively trying to create another financial system that doesn't really involve the US, for those of you who don't know that, Google it, it's there. They're actively trying to make sure that they build something on the side that doesn't involve the United States at all, so that they don't have any, that the US can't once again say, hey guys, I'm here to the party, and kind of push everyone into a corner. The fact that cryptocurrencies are creating this world for them, or have already created the world for them, especially because we had news as well last year that these countries were probably buying up cryptocurrencies, and people were like, no, they're not doing that. Why would they talk about that? It's not that governments were even talking about coming forward and doing this. It was usually someone else in parliament, or someone else who was like a trusted source, who was like, yeah, no, they're definitely, like, they have a, what was it, like, one of them was like a $45 billion budget, and he was like, yeah, they're probably thinking about spending at least 1% of that on Bitcoin or something like that. So the thing is not happening. Think of the amount of studies and things that we've had done. Think of the amount of times that the US has actively come out and said during a press conference, and the Senate, is Bitcoin a threat? Why do you think they're asking if Bitcoin is a threat? They're not asking if Bitcoin is a threat because you decide to trade Bitcoin on a cryptocurrency website and make $300 profit. They're talking about it because clearly other countries are also getting into this as well. And I can only imagine the intelligence that the US has as far as other countries who are buying it up, how much they're buying it up, the other crypto mining operations that we have no idea that are happening around the world that are being set up by other countries. It's kind of fascinating. Here's the actual report right here from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. It goes on for quite a bit. I'm going to try TRY and remember to put this in the description below. I know I'm usually terrible with that. I usually always forget, but I'm going to try because it is quite an interesting read. And without further ado, let's move on. There we go. Next up, Benoit Göre, okay, a board member of the European Central Bank, said that Facebook's Libra coin will not launch until global regulators are satisfied. Speaking to Reuters at the G7 summit in Chantilly, France, a couple of days ago, Göre said that the proposed stablecoin must be guaranteed to be safe for users before it can launch. That's a lie. He said you've got to be safe, robust, and resilient from day one. It's not a learning process. Either it works or it doesn't. Göre stated that guaranteeing the protection of user privacy and ownership rights may require significant consideration and lengthy discussions by regulators. He said, down the road, we might find that there are gaps or inconsistencies that would require a prolonged discussion by regulators on how to do it differently. Authorities are not going to let any such projects happen before we have answers to our questions and before we have the right regulatory framework. This can usually be summarized very quickly. What that pretty much means is that we want to maintain control over it. We have to find a way to make Facebook give us control over it. We will fight hard until they allow us to have control over it. And that's usually what it pretty much comes down to. There's not really much more to kind of dig into that. They are trying to find any way to do it. I think the most negatively adamant people thus far have been the European Union and also the entirety of America. We've had some lawmakers here and there who spoke positively about the potential effects that innovation from Facebook could have on the financial markets. It's very difficult for governments to give up control. I think it would be very odd, incredibly odd, if we heard governments coming forward, giving this the okay and kind of saying, well, you know, we'll just integrate with Facebook. Because what Facebook is also going to try and do, which we spoke about in the last video as far as for Coinbase, is that Facebook is apparently going to try and start doing banking services as well, as far as doing loans and lending and stuff like that. So it pretty much would come down to the fact that imagine a situation where if Facebook partnered with enough companies or enough institutions or whatever that you are actually paid from your job in Libra, or if you were trying to get a loan to buy a house or something like that, the people who had the lowest rate, let's say your bank had like a 3.5% rate and Facebook had a 1.2% rate, people would start using Facebook, and then Facebook would then, you'd be in debt to Facebook for around 30 years. Think of how weird all that actually is. Anyway, They say what they say, but they don't really mean what they say. This is not a situation where they're trying to protect people. They're trying to make sure that from day one that they have control over everything, because I've been hearing a lot of discussions and I've been hearing it a lot in podcasts as well as to why regulators have been so harsh or fighting so hardly, not a word, against Facebook. Is because they pretty much, once again, they're trying to become their own bank, but they're also going to allow their software, as far as we know right now, to be open source to a certain extent. There's a slammy fist to a certain extent, and therefore people will be able to mimic or create other Libra wallets that will also be able to integrate other cryptocurrencies, and this will fall out of the jurisdiction of regulators around the world, and regulators do not like that. Next up, Fidelity's crypto arm, Fidelity Digital Asset Services, has reportedly applied for a license to operate as a trust in New York State. Fidelity Digital Asset Services has filed an application with the New York Department of Financial Services for a trust license. Crypto media outlet The Block reported a couple days ago, citing several unnamed sources familiar with the matter. If the license is approved, Fidelity Digital Asset Services will officially be allowed to offer its crypto custodial services in the state of New York, operating as a limited purpose trust company. In the report, lawyer Arthur Long says that the trust license is broader than the BIT license, NYDFS's typical crypto license, enabling its bearer to operate more financial services such as financial advice. Fidelity has not confirmed the news to The Block as of press time. For those who do not know, within the United States, there are other states, and this is why it's called the United States, but every single state has their own constitution. Every single state has their own set of laws. New York State has thus far been the most difficult place for people to launch anything when it comes to cryptocurrencies because of something that they have called the BIT license, which has hindered an enormous amount of growth within the United States and also within New York, which is usually seen as a financial hub. However, what this appears to be is that Fidelity is trying to launch a cryptocurrency custody service wherein pretty much they're going to be a bank that doesn't really touch the coins, i.e. you can put your money with them, hold it for 10 years, however long you kind of want to hold it, and there will then be, that's it. That's kind of what they're talking about doing, at least at the moment. They've probably gotten other licenses, not a word, within other cities, places, countries very rapidly, very quickly. But it appears that New York State is the final frontier for them being able to do so. We had news and information from Fidelity a couple of weeks ago that they were planning on launching within the next couple of weeks. This was in May. And I assumed that by July, we would have had a couple of things. You know, you would just say a couple of months as opposed to a couple of weeks. It was going to be months, but then they said weeks. So I assume they're trying to make sure that they probably have legal status within every single state to be able to do so. It is widely believed that the Fidelity is part of the trifecta, i.e. the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, and Fidelity, themselves, as far as the launching of the future of cryptocurrencies. I have no real words to even put that into a sentence, but you understand exactly what I'm saying. The entire custody platform thing is supposed to be incredibly large. It gives, once again, validity to the cryptocurrency space, as a major financial custodian will then have entered the space. Anyway, they're trying to get this. New York usually takes a very long time to do stuff. It should not take that long. They are Fidelity. Anyway, this will happen eventually, and let's move on. To kind of finish things off, here we go. India's Ministry of State for Finance is trying to clear up confusion on the state of crypto in the country. Anurag Thakur says India has not officially banned crypto assets, according to a new report from the media outlet known as Inc. 42. According to Thakur, there is no separate law for dealing with issues related to cryptocurrencies, and the government is not taking action against anyone who uses them. Although India's authorities have not placed a ban on the direct buying and selling of digital currencies, the Reserve Bank of India has taken measures that have effectively prevented a significant number of locals from buying them. Last year, the RBI ordered all local financial institutions to stop offering banking services to those dealing in cryptocurrencies, an order which is now being challenged in the Supreme Court. I think the reason he came forward with this is a lot of backlash has been happening. There has been no information from the Indian government for around 24 months. That is a very, very long time. They refuse to give any type of information, so the fact that he has come out saying there is not an official ban on crypto assets in India is great, but an enormous amount of cryptocurrency exchanges within India have closed. I think they only had around 7 or 8, and I think all but 2 of the most popular ones have completely closed. It's kind of sad. At least we have a drop of clarity for what's happening in India. The Indian government has still not given regulatory clarity. They said that they were going to do so in May. And I think they also said at the end of June. We are rapidly approaching August. Still nothing yet. Kind of a shame, but I'm not expecting them to ban it. I feel like if they were that afraid, I think they would have banned it already. I think they're waiting. I don't know. It could be a number of things. They're either waiting. I thought before they were waiting for the U.S. to give some type of regulatory clarity, but the U.S. is also taking a very long time. And I assumed that maybe, I don't know. I have no idea what it could actually be. Maybe they're just trying to figure out a way to be able to control Bitcoin or trying to get control of the blockchain. And them realizing they can't do so maybe angers them. And this is why it's taking so long. Anyway, that's what's happening in India. As always, there we go. A very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Mechanic, Anthony Charles, Nick Mangialavori, Arthur Yaku, Minting Coins, Jim Gardner, Jeremy the Photographer, Tom Sucks at Basketball, and Sam is still skipping leg day, Paxis, Vlad the Impaler, Cody, RF Dusty, Richie Rich III, Nick Kanaya, Setsuna, Nicholas, One Earth, One Piece, One Love, Crypto Artist, Cole D, 3D, Clara T. Snowden, Jeffrey Ramsey, Amy Starsheen, Yasha Harari, Rai, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Carl Birchenoff, Mohair Maroney, Crypto Joe, Wise Night Owl, Jared Schneider, L. Doug, Brady Niels, Krypton Beer Shipmate, Adobo, Assam M. El Zofri, My Keto Kitchen, Triple M and J, Janae Francis, Master Ventures in Thailand, Bank Roll Network, and Professor Wally from Gunbot University. Thank you all very much for your support at the moment. The market's all over the place. It's not really clear what's happening. It looked like it was going down earlier. It looks like it's not going down right now. The prices are up a little tiny bit from where they were before. Earlier in the day, Binance was up 1%. It's almost near 6%. Bitcoin was a little dip going down. It appears it's going back up. Bitcoin was also in the redder earlier. Who knows exactly what's going on? Either way, it's all very exciting, at least to me. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. Hope you all enjoyed. And yeah, I will definitely be talking to you all soon. See you.